One of the most strategic things that is necessary to be done as part of the curriculum of this range of consciousness that we all experience is a simple decision that we are either going to polarize service to self or service to others.
Welcome to Supernormalize, the podcast where we challenge the conventional, break boundaries, and normalize the seemingly supernatural. Join me, CJ, as we explore less uncharted realms of existence and unravel the mysteries of life experience. My treasured listeners, if you have a life story or healing modality or unique knowledge that you'd love to share, reach out to me at supernormalized, that's supernormalized with a Z, at proton.me. Let's together embrace acceptance of the supernatural and unusual as what it really is, completely normal. Today on Supernormalized, you'll meet Dean Graves, a renowned meditation teacher and author, and he brings 20 years of experience in mental health and spirituality to the show, where he discusses consciousness and his connection to the infinite and how basically that works with him helping others, and that's a fantastic thing. He also talks about his significant others' connection to the Arcturians and the messages they actually have for us. So enjoy today's show. I certainly did. Welcome to Supernormalize, Dean Graves. Now you've got a Dean Graves on your image there. Is that doctor?
No, it's just my first name, and
Oh,
apparently there are several people named Dean Graves, and so it just kind of distinguishes me from them.
yes. Understood. Dean, you've had quite a normal life up until the age of 50 that you mentioned in the email that you sent me, and then everything changed. Who was Dean before 50 then?
I'm sorry, say again.
Who were you as Dean Graves before the age of 50? Were you a sort of normal sort of person and everything before this big
I was
change in your
a
life?
normal person. I was conducting a businessman's life. I developed commercial real estate and family, friends, fairly conventional middle class home.
Yeah.
And then about 50, all of that shifted.
Mm.
As a lot of people do, we we well, first of all, let me back up and say things that I've learned since then. As humans, we are designed to create a hierophant or an ego, a false identity, all the same thing, just different names for the same thing.
Yeah.
And we begin this from the instant we are born. And we create this hierophant for a purpose. We create it in order to allow us to have experiences that, for the most part, are tailored to what we need as a spiritual being to learn the curriculum of our incarnation and our advancement through the evolutionary process. And that hierophant requires us to believe erroneously that we can manipulate the world around us in some form or fashion in order to get more of what we like. We're all motivated to get more of what we like. What we like varies from person to person. But that is our orientation. And through that orientation, we get to hopefully a point where we realize that all that what we have been doing, or in my case, the 50 plus or minus years, wasn't working. I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't happy. It wasn't providing me with what I needed. And so I began a I began very simply with a meditation process and began learning to meditate and develop a meditation process. And that was the opening of the door to blossom, to fulfill my more spiritual, intentional purpose, to learn and to message what I have learned.
Okay, so you started a meditation process. What type of meditation were you doing at that time?
Well, I began, as most people do, with guided meditations
Mm.
and passed fairly quickly through guided meditations and did traditional Zen meditations and passed through that. And you learn to develop what works for you. So you take a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and incorporate your own methodology. But most people, including myself, come to meditation because we're running away from the stick. In other words, what we're doing doesn't feel good, it hurts. And so we begin a meditative process and develop awareness, inwardly directed awareness. And that is the tool that we begin to use in order to fulfill our purpose in this incarnation, until one day we get a bite of the apple or the cherry cobbler or whatever it is that your taste buds desire, and it tastes really good. And so our motivation transforms from running away from the stick to getting more of what we like by that inwardly directed awareness, which heals, that is what we use to heal that hierophant, that false identity, and begin to explore our more authentic self.
Mm. Okay, so you're exploring your authentic self and getting a greater understanding of who you are and where you are in the world, and removing the mask from yourself. And then you actually started to get spirit contact or a contact from other beings. Is that correct?
That is, my spouse was actually um, very good at communicating with her higher self, and I was not. Um, and my spouse died in 2011. And the day after she died, then I received a contact from her, which was very simple. It said, "I'm your higher self." And
Nice.
so that communication began my contact, as you say, with the spirit self. So she has been as my higher self, has been my primary teacher for since 2011. And things have evolved, and I have a significant other that is a channel for the Arcturians. And we, just as a matter of fact, before you and I began talking, finished a communication with the Arcturians just a few minutes ago, actually.
Excellent. Did they have any messages for us today?
They have a fairly significant message for us. We, in the last several communications that we've had with them, have explained a transformation that is happening on Earth. Um, the Earth itself, the planet Gaia itself, is a fourth density planet and has been a fourth density planet. The population has completed a third density experience in February of 2016, and we've been in a holdover period. Majority of the new incoming births are fourth density children, and Earth is destined to become, or is, a fourth density positive planet. And so the third density population is finishing up their holdover period and beginning a new third density experience, but that experience is going to separate. So there will be a separation of the population where the fourth density population continues in their evolution, and the third density population will begin another third density population and continue on their journey.
Excellent. Okay, so we're in for some big changes that are coming down the line there in our history, as they say it.
Yes, and it's very eminent. They're suggesting that in the next 3 to 5 years,
Mm.
the opportunity to choose whether we're going to uh, go with the positive fourth density and do what's necessary to qualify for that, or whether they're going to stay pretty much in the cycle that has been the earthly experience and go again to the third density experience.
Right, right. So that would be like a phase shift at that time. So the people that make the choice phase shift into another, what, timeline of Earth, is that correct?
Well, there are multiple timelines of Earth already
Yep.
that are all simultaneously occurring, and so we shift between timelines constantly, even as we're driving down the street, just with how we choose to participate. But the interaction between the two will no longer be mingled. They'll be separate, and the third density won't be able to uh, see, feel, touch, interact with fourth density, and the fourth density for a period of time will be isolated until they learn to isolate themselves or hide themselves from third density contact. So there would be a period of time, a number of years, that there will be distinct difference between the two. And this, it's difficult for us to understand how that's going to happen and with any degree of certainty, but apparently it's just those people that have gone whatever other way just kind of fade from our lifetime. We just no longer see them anymore. We just don't interact with them.
Yeah, I'm actually detecting that like a lot in my life already. So it's interesting to see this actually playing out
Mm-hmm.
in what you're describing there. How, so, okay, you've met your significant other, and she is a channeler for the Arcturians. Can you talk about that a bit more? I mean, how did she actually start that contact?
Well, she's had the contact since she was a small child,
Okay.
and it's just something that she always had. She just assumed everybody did it until she was a little older, and then realized, nobody else is doing this. So, like most channels, suppressed it because she didn't want everybody to think she was weird. Wouldn't let her sit at the cool kid table, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
I think we all go through
so,
that.
yeah. So, really, fairly recently, she has become more comfortable with that, and it's all timing is planned. It was necessary. It was planned that we would be together. It's planned that we would provide this service to humanity, and I needed to be schooled before in order to understand and to be a good support and conduit to help her achieve her mission, and it's working out quite well. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. What inspired you to delve into the topics like mindfulness and enlightenment and the true nature of humanity's purpose in creation in the first place? I mean, you must have been just going along as a sort of normal person. I mean, they hit the age of 50 and then this all happened. I mean, what was the spike in your life that said, okay, this is it, I've got to do something different?
When we are living solely within our hierophant, within our false identity, um, that identity is the primary source of stress in anyone's life. Stress is nothing more than in seeing the world through our expectations. We expect things to be a certain way. When we have an experience and that experience does not meet our expectations, then we experience stress. That's what stress is. It can be minor, it can be major, depending on our degree of interpretation. And so consequently, that is unhappiness. Anytime that we encounter an experience that evokes within us that determination that I don't like this, I'm not happy about the outcome of this experience. And so you have enough of those over a period of time, and you realize eventually that something's got to change, that I can't continue just unhappiness. As we become more aware, we realize the only thing we can change is ourselves. And so that changing of the self becomes the focus of our daily lives. And that is developing awareness, inwardly directed awareness. We all have awareness, but while we maintain this hierophant as our primary being, then our awareness is pointed outside and trying to manipulate the world in order to meet the expectations that we've created. And that is frustrating. It never provides us with enduring happiness. Happiness is what fills the void when we begin to become aware of the hierophant that we've created and the expectations that we've created and the unhappiness resulting that we experience, that stress. When we reduce our stress, then happiness fills that void because happiness is our enduring nature. And so it is only our perspective of self that prevents us from experiencing the joy and the happiness that we already are. And so that is healing. That is the healing from our distortions of perception. That is the surrendering of perception of self. And there's nothing more that we have to do to experience greater happiness. Bliss is the absence of stress because it is our authentic self that we are experiencing, which is blissful in and of its nature.
So we're all reaching towards this state of stresslessness, even though we may be doing so unconsciously. But to take the step and do it consciously is the key, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes. We have to become aware. Part of the design that we experience, in addition to to creating this hierophant, we are programmed, we all operate under the auspices of an archetypical mind, which is a blueprint. It is a blueprint for how we process thought. And we process thought with certain conditions. We are the conditions that we in this universe experience is according to four distortions. One distortion is a perception of separation, which is an enhancement over our universal perception of separation. We perceive ourselves to be in constant motion. We perceive ourselves to be unconscious. And that creates a condition of chaos. And so we begin every lifetime with a degree of chaos, but we began our original journey through this range of consciousness in what is referred to as primordial darkness, which simply means we don't know anything. We're a clean slate. We can write anything on that slate that we want. And we incarnate a multitude of times, learning, hopefully, from each incarnation and fulfilling the curriculum of this range of consciousness until we get to the point where that unconsciousness becomes or comes into our awareness and we awaken. And from that point, then we may assume responsibility for our evolutionary process, which is synonymous with the process of enlightenment. Most people consider enlightenment to be a destination. It's not a destination, it's the process. It's the process of consciousness evolution. And so everyone is enlightened to the degree they have allowed themselves to become enlightened.
Yeah, I believe everyone personally is purely enlightened, and then all the masks that we put on top of it actually color it and change it and stop us from identifying that we actually are in that infinite space continuously.
Yes.
Mm. So, how do you approach dispelling personal misinformation and guiding individuals towards spiritual awakening in your work?
Um, we all have a natural system of discernment. If it feels right, then at that moment, it is right for us until we encounter that at a deeper level and modify that to, again, surrender more of our false perception of self. And so it is a process. We learn by analogy. We have the ability to compare and contrast. The more experiences that we have, the more resources that we have to develop that discernment. And so what one person may feel is right for them is at that moment right for them until it's not. And that is the process of evolution until we get to a point where we have completely surrendered, and this is way down the line, we've completely surrendered that false perception of self, and we are our authentic self. And we still have other distortions to surrender, but we are no longer are dealing with the hierophant and the false identity and the ego.
Yeah, once you get all those out of the way, it makes it pretty much a lot more easier to be in accord
Well,
with
we
the
see
universe.
yeah, what this hierophant does is it creates a lens through
Yep,
which we view our experiences.
distorts
And
everything.
so, yeah. And so that is the uniqueness of our exploration and our function in creation is the Buddha described a path, we follow the path. The more we deviate from that path, the more in the weeds we get and the more stress we experience. And so the more stress that we experience is simply an indication that our GPS is caused us to leave that path and we wander back to the path and we'll oscillate back and forth along that path until we can have enough awareness to focus on the path and stay on the path and lessen our stress accordingly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, as we get our training wheels, we are all a bit wobbly at first until we have the I don't know, we could call it almost like the muscle of mindfulness to know what is good for you and what isn't good for you, and helping you stay focused and keeping that lens clear. Can you elaborate on the significance of mindfulness and meditation as pathways to greater self-awareness and spiritual evolution in today's world?
Certainly. Um, our task in this range of consciousness is to awaken, which is nothing more than the realization that what I've been doing isn't working and I'm not happy. That's awakening, period. And you begin the process to develop your awareness, inwardly directed awareness, until you become awareness, literally become awareness. And this is one of the five inherent characteristics of the creator. And it is the signal, one of the signals that indicate we are ready to graduate to the next range of consciousness. We exist simultaneously, all of us exist simultaneously in the metaphysical world and the physical world. You and I talking right now, are an analog projection of our metaphysical self. Our metaphysical self is in our enduring self. And this is the first range of consciousness where that mind, body, spirit in the metaphysical world is created with or made available enough awareness that our experiences are cumulative, that every lifetime adds to or subtracts from our metaphysical being, and that one being will continue way far into our evolutionary development. When we meditate, what we what we strive to do is to become our metaphysical self, or allow ourselves to surrender this false identity, this hierophant, and dwell in our mind that is our metaphysical being. In that, I make the analogy to my students that while we are in our ego mind, when our incarnate mind, we're in the village. When we're in our metaphysical mind, we're in the guru's cave. And all problems exist in the village. And so when we allow ourselves a daily retreat to the guru's cave, then we allow ourselves a vacation from the problems that exist only in the village. And we gain perspective, we gain awareness, we gain knowledge, we explore ourselves and do the healing that we all need from our false perceptions of self. But we have to come back into the village. And so we come back into our ego mind with practice and with diligence. That mindset that we are able to experience in our metaphysical self can carry with us as we come back into the village. That's mindfulness. To the degree that we can be mindful is the degree that we can maintain that clarity of perspective without significant distortion of our hierophant mind, our ego mind, and allow us to still function within the village and have experiences and learn from those experiences without slipping into that ego mind solely and dwelling in the problems. So that becomes very helpful to us. I mean, when you go on vacation, almost everyone that goes on vacation, they're dealing with problems at work, at home, whatever, before they go on vacation. Then we go on vacation, it takes 2 or 3 days to get out of that mindset of, the problems, and then we have a nice vacation. And we rejuvenate, we revitalize ourselves, and we come back to the village where we out for vacation, and we have a completely different mindset of the problems that were same problems that were there before we went on vacation, but our perspective about the problems is different. And so we more often than not find solutions for those problems because we have changed. We've changed our mindset. The same is true on a daily basis when you meditate and you allow yourself that vacation, and then you come back into the village, and your perspectives of the intensity of the problems or whatever the stigma is, you find solutions. It's no longer as stressful as it was before, and you get on with exploring yourself and being aware of the experiences that you're having. So how that can aid humanity today, the journey through this range of consciousness is an individual journey. No one's going as a group. It's an individual process. And as we heal, then that cumulatively transforms the hegemony of the population at all levels, minor to major. And so we no longer we begin to surrender our perceptions of separation, and we no longer view people as enemies. I mean, it's very, it gets very idealistic very quickly, but that is the process of consciousness evolution. And it's something that we will all need to go through. We can go through it now, or we can go through it later. It's entirely up to us. There's no time limit on it. The earthly population, a large portion of the earthly population, has been doing this repetitive cycle for over 850,000 years, and we can keep doing it as long as we deem necessary.
So it's necessary for this upgrade for us to be able to change into the other, what would you call it, phase of being which is coming. Is that correct?
Got to change yourself. Got to heal yourself. What distinguishes consciousness in any of the 8 ranges of consciousness is the degree of free will intoxication.
What do you mean by
Philosophers have,
intoxication?
huh?
What do you mean by intoxication there? That's
I'm going
interesting.
to explain. I knew that
Okay.
would require some
You
unpacking.
got me there.
Yeah. Free will is the first and most pervasive distortion of all of creation, and creation is made possible by distortion. The philosophers have debated for centuries whether we have free will, whether we don't have free will, what the nature of free will is. And they missed the point. Free will is not whether we have the choice to turn right or to turn left. That is the product of free will. Free will is the perception of separation. And so creation began by the creator projecting itself as a distortion, distorted with free will. And so it was able to observe itself and experience itself, which fulfilled the purpose of creation. The purpose of creation being the creator desired to know itself by experiencing itself. Of course, if you're all that there is, you can't experience yourself if you're all that there is. And so it created the creator as the subject, and the creator as the subject began creation. It is consciousness, and everything within that we experience is consciousness. The layers of creation were made possible by increasing the degree of intoxication of that perception of separation. Free will works very much like an intoxicant. When people get drunk or they get high, what it does is reduces their awareness. When you have too much whiskey to drink, your awareness is decreased. And so that free will has that same effect on a mass scale of ranges of consciousness. We perceive ourselves to be more separate from the creator than the range of consciousness above us. We are a fractal of the range of consciousness above us, and that facilitates our ability to have certain types of experiences. And that certain types of experience allows us to become aware and eventually become awareness, which is essentially building the foundation for our return to the creator. When you're building a house, you have to build the floor before you build the walls, and the walls before the roof, and so forth. So becoming awareness is the foundation. The next range of consciousness, we will do the same work exploring love, which is the next inherent characteristic of the creator. After that, we will explore wisdom, which is, again, the roof. That's the next range of consciousness and the next inherent characteristic of the creator. We will then return to unity, which is sixth density, which is the beginning creator being density. Beyond that is stillness, which is seventh density. And so the progression is learning and exploring who we already are. We already are the one infinite creator, heavily intoxicated with our perception of separation, which allows us to only function within a certain range of awareness or a certain range of consciousness. Our evolution will be to re-explore each of these inherent characteristics as we progress.
That's beautiful. And yeah, it actually speaks a lot to some of the experiences that I've had previously personally. Not to hijack your explanation there, but I've actually had that where I've gone through different levels from my meditation itself and all the way up into the infinite serenity. But when I actually even got to that point, I merged with, you know, the Godhead or whatever you wish to call it, and I had no perception of time or space or anything at that stage.
No, that disappeared very quickly.
Yeah.
And then you think, do I really want to go back?
Well, I didn't even have a choice about going back. It was like, well, look, you've got to go back and have a human experience. That's what you actually came to Earth for. So
but you're thinking there's how can I get to stay here just a little while longer?
Well, to be honest, I actually didn't even have any awareness of being in there. Once I got into it,
Yeah.
I was merged and there was nothing. And
Yeah, that perception of self just fades.
It's
Yeah.
gone. And I was surprised to come back and be a human again. I was like, what? But I'm having a human life.
Wait, let me put another quarter in the machine. Let me stay longer.
Well, it was sort of like that, and I got warned off after quite a while of trying to get back into that sort of space, and the spirits just said, no, 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 you've learned enough of this cycle of that part of it. Go back and have a human life. So
Yes. Things we have to learn here.
that's right. There is things to be learned. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, the perception of separation. I truly believe that this planet. I don't even know if we live on a planet after speaking to so many people about so many different things. I think this creation that we're existing in, is all of it is God all of the time, and we forget that, and it's very
Hmm.
important to have that realization and self-realization. So then um, things become smoother in life. You don't feel like you're in the pinball of the, as you say, the hierophant. You don't actually get caught up in things as much, and things just seem to wash off you when you take that time out to be mindful and take that time out to meditate and make a practice of it in any way that you wish. I mean, some people do it through chanting, and some people do it through prayer, and some people do it through just sitting still. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's all valuable for sure.
Yeah,
So
the experiences are immutable for everyone.
yeah,
And when you reach a certain degree of surrendering that perception of separation, then what you experience is universal at that range of consciousness.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So what and who created Earth and its population? I mean, it seems like a bit of a simulation sometimes for some people, but I think it's created by God. But what's your take?
Well, it's all God, but the
Yep,
problem with God is a religious term that requires a
it's got
perception that
baggage.
there is a deity and there is you.
Yeah, no, that's
And the reality is it's a law of one, all is one. So we are the creator experiencing ourselves at this range of consciousness, which is made possible by that degree of free will and intoxication. So we're just experiencing ourselves, and the creator is experiencing itself at this range of consciousness. So the creator created everything, but it's all conceptual. And so the creator created Earth, but there are creator beings that are in this same hierarchy that created Earth. There are five inherent characteristics which are all archetypes of the creator, and then there's free will, which is in and of itself an archetype of the creator, and there are 26 other distortions that have been created from the inherent characteristics. And every universe is um, exploring the creator in different combinations of the inherent characteristics and the distortions. Our particular universe is a nine-star system. So we have the five inherent characteristics, and we have four distortions that comprise the ingredients, the archetypes for our expansion and our experience. And those the five inherent characteristics are awareness, love, wisdom, unity, and stillness. And we have four distortions: the motion, the enhanced perception of separation, the unconsciousness, and free will. And so our entire universe when it has expanded in groups of nine stars. Each star is home to a six density archetype representing one of those perceptual distortions or inherent characteristics. And so our particular planet our sun is home to law, and law is wisdom, and it is a stand in a nine-star system. Some star has to be non-binary. Our sun is the non-binary archetype in our nine-star system. Our planet was created by law, which is wisdom. Our population experience, third density experience, was an investment of love, and a combination of love, wisdom, and minor contributions from the other archetypes. So we are principally a law, or I'm sorry, a raw, which is love planet with strong influences of wisdom. And they are our guiding biases, I guess you could say, for the nature of our experience. So, relatively speaking, law created the planet. The planet evolved through a variety of meanderings over centuries, or thousands or millions of years. And this particular humanity experience is a combination of principally love and wisdom.
Okay, okay. Would you say that it's actually our mission and almost duty to higher consciousness to have these realizations and to connect to the source again to actually help others get there as well?
Well, it is a mission, but we're also given the carrot and the stick. Um, it feels much better to be in alignment with the inherent characteristics and the path back to the creator than it does not to be. We're all motivated to get more of what we like. And so when we experience that alignment, it feels better than anything else. And so we want more of it.
Mm.
And so we begin like at the base of a pyramid, and we're focusing our efforts and our awarenesses back to that pinnacle point because it feels better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, you spoke before about working with students. Do you have any success stories that you'd like to share where people have had great change in their lives to the positive? Hello?
Meetings online, we used to do it in person.
Okay.
And I have probably 15 or 20 people that have been very successful acolytes in the information and doing the work and becoming, I'd like to have many more, but, those, and I have a lot of people that come in and they stay for a while and they depart, and they're not really ready to make a commitment. But, those 15 to 20 students have been very committed. They've been consistent for years, and they've made great progress. And I applaud them, because when you become a teacher, particularly of spiritual information, then that's when you really learn the light, learn the information, because um, you have to know it better than to teach it. So when they have questions or they need concerns or whatever, you have to go deeper in order to truly learn what it is that you're dealing with or working on. And so they have actually been my teacher. I mean, the appearance is that I'm their teacher, but that's not really the case. They've been my teacher by virtue of their questions and progress and foibles and so forth. And so it's been very helpful to me. And I believe that they have achieved great advancement in their efforts towards the journey. But it's ongoing. We continue.
Excellent, excellent. Dean, you've written a few books here. I've seen that you've got Enlightenment, Plain and Simple, The Enigma of Consciousness, and what were the other books? Can you tell us about those?
Yeah, certainly. I've written 4 books. The Enigma of Consciousness um, is due on bookshelves in on August 30th of this year. Is my newest book. It's a compendium book, and it goes into great detail in everything that we've touched upon today. And I explain in great detail the different densities, what each density is like, why there's that density, what its function is, the archetypical mind. There are a number of chapters on explaining the archetypical mind and how we process thoughts and why we process thoughts in a certain way.
Mm.
Um, and it is much more detailed. I've learned a lot since I've written that book, so I'm working on the fifth book. But that book is due out in on August 30th. The other books in the Enlightenment Plain and Simple is an introductory book for people to begin with. It lightly explains the process of what we're doing and gets people started on a healing path. There are a number of light exercises in there that they can begin to perform to begin to heal. Uh, the um, the identity model deals specifically with creating this hierophant, and I wrote it for mental health professionals, but it's in very simple terms. So you don't have to have any background in mental health studies in order to understand. And it is much more intense in helping people understand what it is about their being that continues to cause them stress and suffering, why we do things that we do, why we don't do things that we should do, and things of that nature. And there are some exercises in the back that will greatly expedite if someone that says that they can't meditate or they've had difficulty meditating. It's simply because they're still in a high degree of chaos. And there are three exercises that have proven dramatically successful in healing traumas and helping people to heal sufficiently that they can begin to sit down and start meditating. The other book is Edifying Children of a Lesser God, and answering existential questions, which is more intensely helping people to understand the paradigms that they've established and the beliefs that they have established that prohibit them from advancing forward. In other words, our process is to a large part getting rid of the garbage that we've collected, and the garbage is all in the form of beliefs that are erroneous beliefs, but we adhere to them because we got them by osmosis and have never examined them primarily. And so these are all precursors leading up to the Enigma of Consciousness book, which is very I understand, easy to read. But it challenged a lot of philosophy, psychology, and helps people begin to put the perspective into their understandings to truly help them move forward more quickly.
Mm. I understand also that you are a podcast yourself and you have one called the Chatting with the Arcturians. Is that correct?
That is correct, and that is more intensely our focus. And as we talked before, our beginning of the recording of this, the Arcturians are simply another nine-star system. So they speak to us as one voice, but it is the entirety of their organism. A nine-star system is considered to be an organism, and so they speak to us. They have been in the process a lot longer than we have. They have a lot more experience. They're simply concerned and offering us information and guidance on our journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so that we have, I think, 37 or 38 episodes, and that'll be ongoing. And particularly in the times that are about to descend upon us, that information can be very helpful in guiding us through the foibles of this transition that we're about to encounter.
Mm, yeah, definitely. I think we all need a good message around that. So I was going to ask you, what's a good, concise message that would help people to find their own way and the right way?
One of the most strategic things that is necessary to be done as part of the curriculum of this range of consciousness that we all experience is a simple decision that we are either going to polarize service to self or service to others. If we choose to polarize service to self, we are enhancing that perception of separation and determining the future of our evolutionary path for a long time to come, which inevitably will need to be terminated and you go back to where you dropped out of school. The other choice is to be service to others, and that is the direct path to the creator. That is the path that the Buddha described. And that choice between service to self or service to others is what is being demanded of us in the next 3 to 5 years. Is no longer an opportunity to vacillate between the two. And so that decision is imperative, and it requires some introspection and transformation of the self, and uh, behaving in the way that you choose.
Mm, yeah. It sounds like it's time for everyone to give each other a hand up the ladder of consciousness into the infinite and,
Either
reconnect.
either a hand or the kick in the rear, whichever it takes.
I think some of us do need a kick in the rear. I know that I have in the past myself. So,
Yeah, it helps sometimes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When you're very distracted, it's like, oh, and you don't realize it. That's the problem too, right? When you're lost, sometimes you're so lost you don't realize you're lost until somebody
It's,
comes along and says, "Wait a minute, you're lost."
well, you can know that you're not happy,
That's it.
and happiness is the measure of how we're doing. And so if
Mm.
you're unhappy, then something you're doing is not right.
Yeah, that's key, isn't it? Really. Mm. All right, Dean, this has been excellent. I've really appreciated the time that we've shared here today. Is there anywhere that you'd like to point our listeners so they can find out more about you?
Certainly, I have a website. It's the initial D, Dean, Dean, Graves, Graves, all one word, .org. And I have references to the books where you can get the books and other services that I can provide people. I do mental health counseling as well, and I do it all over the world. I've done it everywhere from Israel to Australia to Canada to wherever. And it has my approach is to work directly in people's emotions. I don't really deal with the story like a therapist does. And so my objective is to get people on a healing path and give them the tools that they can continue with their own healing. So that would be very helpful to people. But the information is available in the books and the podcast is, I guess, the other wing of what I do.
Excellent, Dean. So what I'll do is I'll provide links to all those in the show notes for everyone, and I'll say thank you very much for coming on today. I really appreciated your time, and thanks for everything that you've shared.
Thank you, CJ. I've enjoyed it tremendously.
Excellent, excellent. All right, I'll just say goodbye to the listeners. Well, that was a fun talk. So much density in that conversation that I did find myself listening and then my mind wandering, thinking about what Dean had said. So this is one I'm going to have to go back and listen to really carefully again myself because it was so much in it. And if you've enjoyed today's show and you'd like to help me, I mean, if you have value in this content, like I have value in this content, please share to one person that you know that would actually benefit from it as well. That would really help the show because it actually helps more people to hear it. Thank you very much for listening. And until next episode, bye for now.